The year was 1943. Deep in the heart of the Solomon Islands, Base Foxtrot was a place the maps had forgotten. It wasn't a sleek military fortress. It was a muddy, humid scar carved out of a jungle, so thick you had to fight the vines just to walk to the mess hall. The air was a heavy soup of damp earth, rotting leaves, and the sharp, metallic tang of aviation fuel. Staff Sergeant Leo Stone Hendricks was the man in charge of the base's perimeter. Leo was a veteran of the Great Depression, a man used to hard work and silence. On Foxtrot, silence was the most valuable thing you owned. The jungle was never truly quiet. It hissed with insects and groaned with the movement of hidden. It attacked. It turned the runway into a swamp of black mud, and it made every piece of metal rust within days. The men slept in tents raised on wooden stilts to keep out the land crabs and the snakes. Every morning, the ritual was the same. Shake out your boots for scorpions, swallow your malaria pill with warm, sulfur-tasting water, and start the generators. Do you think the mud will eventually just eat the plains, Sarge? A young private named Miller asked one evening, scraping a thick layer of sludge off his rifle. But as long as we keep digging, we keep flying. That's the deal we made with this island. The shadow in the mist one Friday. A thick white mist rolled down from the volcanic ridges. It was so dense you couldn't see your own outstretched hand. That night, the Phantom of the Pacific, a lone Japanese scout plane, began circling overhead. He didn't drop bombs. He just stayed up there, his engine pulsing in an irregular rhythm to keep the Americans awake. The nervous twitch, the men called it. Suddenly, the radar went dead. A fallen mahogany tree had crushed the power line leading to the coastal observation post. The base was now blind. If a fleet approached through the mist, they wouldn't know until the shells hit the sand. Leo didn't wait for a squad. He knew the jungle path better than anyone. He grabbed a roll of wire, a heavy machete, and stepped into the green wall of the forest. The duel with the dark, the jungle at night, was a different world. The mist turned the trees into twisted monsters. Leo crawled through the mud, his heart thumping against his ribs. He could hear the phantom plane circling high above, a reminder that the enemy was watching. He found the break in the line near a ravine. The heavy tree had snapped the wire like a piece of string. As Leo reached for the cable, he heard a sound that wasn't the wind. A gunshot would alert the enemy scouts to the base's exact location. Instead, he moved like a shadow, using the darkness he had learned to live in. He circled wide, his boots silent in the soft mud. In a sudden, blurred motion, he neutralized the threat without a sound. He signaled the base with 3 short clicks on his handheld radio. Seconds later, the radar hummed back to life. The blindness was over. The morning light, when the sun finally broke through the mist the next morning, it revealed a beautiful, terrifying sight. The radar had picked up a small destroyer group moving toward the island. Leo walked back into the base as the sun started to bake the mud into a hard crust. He was covered in filth, his uniform torn by thorns, and his face smeared with grease. He didn't report his encounter in the woods to anyone but the commander. He went to the mess hall, sat on a crooked stool, and finally took a sip of that warm, sulfur-tasting water. "Rough night, Sarge?" Miller asked, noticing the fresh scratches on Leo's arms. Leo looked out at the jungle, which looked so peaceful and green in the morning light. "Just another day in the garden, Miller. Just another day." The war moved on, and eventually, Base Foxtrot was reclaimed by the vines and the mud, so they could live to see the dawn.